Hello ladies and gentlemen. Today's video, I kind of want to really go over why it is that I am becoming very annoyed as of late. And I'm confident a lot of you have probably noticed this in some of my videos, in my streams, in my posts. Some of you guys may think I'm getting arrogant, egotistical. However, I want to explain this from my perspective, right? So you guys can kind of understand it. This is going to be a bit of a longer video probably because, I mean, there's a lot of instances of this in the last year, but I really need to bring them all up to absolutely drive it home. Beta doom posting, starting from my day. My day was complete garbage in his early versions beta. I remember this shit. He was genuine trash. However, he ended up getting buffed in V3, which I was actually really happy about. However, Cassie mains were not happy about this. They tried to say that My Day should get nerfed because he was too strong, quote unquote. They were vastly overestimating how strong he was so they could doom post him because they wanted Cassie to be stronger. And then when Cassie's beta came around, this is where the real annoyance came from. They were saying that, oh, she isn't vastly stronger than My Day without any of her best in slot teammates. They need to buff her significantly more than this. And I tried to explain to them that this is the Annie main push. She's going to get multiple teammates in the future. She's going to get new best in slots. I've been arguing for Tribby not being a best in slot for Cassie for so long at this point, by the way, all the way until Cyrene, and that when it finally became solidified. Yet these people did not want to listen to me. They wanted to constantly argue, say, oh, are you some Hoyo employee? How would you know this? How would you know that? Right? And that was how the entire Cassie beta doom posting kind of went until they got Hyacine, until they got fucking Evernight, and until they got Cyrene, and they had the strongest team of the version. Right? After this, we have Faye. Faye was probably the most annoying beta of all time. You guys will know if you were there. Holy shit, that thing was miserable. So, similar to Cassie, people were doom posting Faye thinking that he wouldn't get any more best in slot teammates after his initial release, because apparently being a male main push means you won't get the same main push treatment, which was pretty funny looking back at it, because if you guys know or have watched my recent video, you'll know my opinion on Phenon. He is probably the strongest at base and Furious DPS in the entirety of the game. He is the least reliant on best in slot supports, and he has some of the best Eidolon investment, or if not the best, depending on what type of content he's tackling at E2, right? Incredibly strong unit on his own. Yes, he didn't get the Cassie treatment in terms of best in slots, but he still got best in slots, and he got a sustain so synergistic and free to where if you put one more cost into his E1, he could be competitive with Bronya sustainless Phenon running a sustain, right? We all know how that went. Next, we go to Evernight. Evernight's doom posting was definitely pretty bad, right? Evernight doom posting was that she was significantly weaker than Cassie as a hyper carry for people who wanted to run her hyper carry instead of in mono rem with Cassie. However, not only this, people thought that she was heavily reliant on Hyacine Sig, and that without it, you shouldn't even consider running her as a main DPS. Now, I didn't pay that much attention to Evernight in her earlier beta, like V1, V2, so I thought the same thing. However, the second I started going out of my way to look at multiple gameplays, look more at the kit, see what she's providing, I completely changed my mind. And I tried to inform people about this on Reddit, on social media, on my YouTube videos, on my YouTube posts. However, people kept saying, no, you're wrong. Her Eidolon investment isn't that strong. Her hyper carry isn't as strong as Cassie. She does need Hyacine Sig to perform, which is kind of funny, right? I think we all know how that ended up aging these days. It ended up aging absolutely terribly. Next, we have Cyrene's beta. Now, Cyrene's was more about her territory. there was a lot of discussion on social media about whether or not they wanted Cyrene to have a territory or not. A lot of people, and when I try to tell people on, Cyrene mains, I got doom posted to absolute all hell because they thought that me saying she shouldn't have a territory so she can synergize with all the Chrysos heirs was a bad thing, because they thought, oh, you have territory, that means you get a million times better animation, right? So yes, I don't care if you cuck Casterus or Phanon in terms of buffing them as compared to the rest of the heirs, if you have a little more of a beautiful animation, is basically what they were arguing. However, I tried to explain to them over and over, this type of thinking is not logical. And the reason especially why people went so hard on me for doubting the fact that Cyrene would have a territory is that I was going against basically every single leaker, because all the reliable leakers in the space said that she would have a territory, she would have a global passive, and I said I don't think so, because there's no way they'd miss out on selling a Chrysos heir support for all the Chrysos heirs, especially their biggest sellers like Cassie and Phanon, right? And we know now she didn't have a territory, and she ended up being best in slot for all the heirs, right? Next, we have Sparksy. This is the most recent one next to Yao Guang. Literally the second I finished reading Sparksy's kit in the beta, and I made a quick video about her, my immediate assumptions were that she was supposed to be a sub DPS, right? Because her kit was exactly built like Evernight's. Evernight has vulnerability buffing, or debuffing technically, with her ultimate. She has crit damage buffing, her Lycomb buffs team damage, her E1 buffs team damage. You see, Evernight has a lot of team buffing. You don't really see that in a Cassie. Even though Cassie's territory gives 20% res pen, you almost never end up, taking full advantage of that across all the time on the team, and all of Cassie's investment is dedicated towards main DPS, and that is common among main DPSs. However, characters that seem main DPS but have a surprising amount of buffs or debuffs in base kit or vertical investment are almost always a sign of a sub DPS. You can also look at Ashvale for this as well, right? So I put it on, or put my opinion on, that Sparksy would be a sub DPS for the Annie main push, and my most logical conclusion for how she'd be best in slot wasn't necessarily her sub DPS in verticals, but her punchline generation. This was 100% the most standout part about her kit, that she generated the most as compared to anybody else, so it only made sense in my opinion that this would somehow play a part in her future best in slot team with her main DPS. Now at the time we thought it was Evanesia who was the main push, so I said Evanesia. However, since it's changed to Silverwolf, and Anon Leaks has leaked that Silverwolf gets her ultimate through punchline generation, it's obvious who Sparksy is now meant for. However, I received a lot of disagreement, a lot of hate on my posts, my streams, my videos. Once again, these people were wrong and I was right. And now we are at Yao Guang, right? I've already made countless posts, more than any other character in my life, when it's come to trying to stop the misinformation of a character's doom posting. A lot of people think it is that I like Yao Guang, but no, it is simply I am completely fed up at this point. And to be honest, of all people to doom, Yao Guang has to be one of the dumbest and most idiotic, especially the people who compare her to like Buff Sparkle and are genuinely thinking that Buff Sparkle would be a similar alternative, if not better, as compared to her for a Silverwolf team. They are genuinely delusional, and 99% of the time they don't even understand the kit. For example, 99% of the people I've tried to have a genuine discussion with of why do you think Yao Guang won't be best in slot for Silverwolf say the punchline gen, because these idiots think that the ultimate's aha instant punchline not contributing means that she doesn't generate any punchline at all, which is not at all how it works. If we go over here, her ultimate generates 5 punchlines separately from the fixed 20 from her aha instant, and every time she uses her basic or skill, she will gain 3 punchline, right? I've made a post already and I've shown how much of this punchline matters. In about a 0 cycle 300 AV, Yao Guang in a 3-man elation team, so Silverwolf, SP, Sparksy, Yao Guang, and let's say buff 12 theoretically, can generate about 33 punchline. How much does this equal in terms of punchline Sparksy generates? This is the equivalent to 2 max skill Sparksy skills at 9 skill points each, right? So this woman passively generates 18 skill points worth of punchline, not including the thrill gen that she provides to Sparksy with her forced AHA instance, not including her being the most SP positive third slot in the game, not including the fact that she is an AoE buffer, not including the fact that she's the only elation damage buffer, not including the fact that her vertical investment is completely tailored for elation, not including the fact that she is the one that you can run on the highest speed for AHA 134 speed, which acts twice in a 0 cycle, right? I hope you guys can understand why it is I'm so sick and tired of this bullshit dooming. If you were to understand her kit, read it, look at Sparksy's kit, understand the synergy between these two, and then you can also understand that Sparksy will be best in slot for Silverwolf, then Yao Guang goes there with Silverwolf, no matter what, right? Love you all. Hope you have a great day. Hope you have a great night. I hope this video helped you guys kind of understand, once again, why I have been maybe like seemingly overly angry as of late and just frustrated. I hope you guys can really understand and listen to me. I am tired of this. This isn't me stroking my ego or thinking I'm overly intelligent. If anything, it's the opposite. I don't think I'm that intelligent. I simply read the kit and I understand it. 99% of the time, the people who are dooming these characters do not read the kits, do not understand them, and are instead trying to push an agenda. And I am completely sick of this after constantly recurring itself over a year. Peace.